Hi everyone, this is Mary Flower. The last video I made had to do with Christmas, and I didn't get finished with those journals because I was stopped in the middle with a different order, and these are for quilters. So I'm making the pretty envelopes with the little one signature journal, junk journal, to go with these, and these are for quilters. And so and they're also like the flowers because there's a flower shop that's right next to it, and so they kind of do both. And so I wanted to make these flowers and quilting theme for them because they like to keep a record of what they're doing. I started out, here's one of them. I'll just show you really quick. And they open up. I have the string closures on all of these, and I made them look like buttons with some embroidery floss that goes through them, so they look like large buttons. And then inside there is a quilting journal for that goes with each one, and I'll go through that in a minute. Let me show you kind of what I started with. I always make my paper, these are the large pieces of heavy watercolor, and I do these by hand. I just get them wet and then just throw paint on them and slap a rag around them and then hang them up to dry, and I use them for everything. And sometimes I'll even do some jelly print painting on it as well. So I have these pretty colors. I've done all sorts of different colors. As you can see, it gets it on the back a little bit, but and the lighting is a little bit odd here. So, and just all sorts of colors. And then I always keep all the leftover pieces to make my my large buttons here. Now what I use is a large Sizzix circle punch, and so I can punch out different sizes of circles. And I use these beer coasters, and I love these beer coasters because the whatever they're made out of, kind of a paper, it's a paper, but it's just the most fantastic paper. And my daughter worked at a place where she could get beer coasters all the time, and she brought me hundreds of them, and I use them all the time. The leftover ones are the ones they threw out, and so she could get me quite a few, just what they were throwing out. And so I was really grateful for that. And so let me show you. Oh, also I was making some needle books, and I decided I was a little tired of them. I made one that I really liked for myself. I didn't want to make anymore, and I made them for pins right here. And you can see I just cut those apart and put them on the front and up here. And so these are approximately 11 inches by about 6-7 inches on these. And I'll show you. This is the first one. And it has this beautiful thistle on it. And this is the, see if you can see this. I'll pull the camera down a little bit and I'll go through one. Every single one of them is different, so they're each one are unique. And the colors in them is different too, but they're pretty much have the same papers within each one of these. This is taken from a quilting book that I just used one of the pages from that, and a songbook. And I put a lot of graph paper in these because I think quilters like to draw things that they're coming up with and stuff. So, and then you can also write on them really well. So, and I found these beautiful papers that had they were like, the red would go from light red to dark red, and you'll see the other side is the darker side. And I found that at a thrift store, and I love it. And these are I don't know what you call them. it has to do with quilting patterns and things in an old book, and I just pulled the pages out of it. And these are the dark side of the papers, the brighter side. I used some botanical pages, more graph paper. Gosh, I'm losing words here. That's what happens when you get old. And here's the other side of the botanical, some designer papers, and oh, see, this is the side that's a little bit lighter on this. So they were really pretty papers, so I used those in here as well. And so every one of these are going to be something similar to this, a single signature, and so that they can keep records. Isn't that pretty, out of a quilt book? You know, keep their little journal of their quilting. I'm not sure what they do. I have not done a lot of quilting in my life, just when I was a lot younger, but I never journaled about it. But I thought, you know what, I would today. And so I think it's kind of a neat idea. And then on the front, this is actually different kinds of fabrics that I was going to use for the needle books, but I liked it on the front of here, and it looks quilty, you know, like a crazy quilt. And so I used them on the fronts of these. And so I'll kind of go over these. And then every one has a place to have pins and then needles. And then you use a string closure that I've made. And so I've made 10 of these, and hopefully if they like these, then I will make some more. But it's made out of those big pieces of yummy hand-painted watercolor paper. So here's a place that has little buttons and pins, and up here buttons and some little safety pins, just things that are, you know, kind of for quilting. And I've made 10 of these, so pretty much the same things in here. As you can see, I've used different papers on the inside here, but pretty much the same kind of a thing. But I'll just kind of give you a little look on what these look like. Each one is very, very different. This one says a stitch in time saves 9. And also on all of these I have written, quilters keep the world in stitches, on somewhere on the envelope. Some of the backs are very plain. I've signed them. And each one of these little quilt patterns that I have made on the front, each one is a little different. Some of the same pieces of cloth, but a little different. But the same thing in here, same kinds of pretty papers. So this should be a really fun book for a person who likes to journal about quilts. Here's some great big flowers. I love these flowers, and I love the colors here. See, quilters keep the world in stitches. Each one was a slightly different size from each other, because sometimes, oh, I sewed around the edges here, see that? Clear around a couple times on it. And sometimes I'd get a little closer than other times, and so I had to make sure these each fit, you know. And I also sewed around the journal itself, and then I sewed on the piece, the little kind of miniature crazy quilt that I would put on the front. And same types of papers on the inside of all of them. And then I put 2 little beads where I bound them. This is my, looks like, kind of like purple daisies or something. Very bright, very pretty. Tried to get colors that were complementary to each other. I found another little card. I like this one with the butterflies. And same types of paper. This one folds out. A paper that has to do with quilts on the inside, and very, very cute papers. The string enclosures kind of make it, oh, just kind of fun. That extra little touch, you know, it's kind of fun. And I think I forgot to put a little safety pin in there, so I'm going to do that. I'm glad I looked at them. Another one. See how it kind of is pretty together. And like I said, same kinds of papers in here. And I wanted to show these because these are going out. My friend drives a flower truck all over this state and a couple other states, and she takes these to people that order them, and so I had to have it ready today because she's going out in the morning, and that saves me from having to deliver it too. It's kind of nice. And this one has some jelly plate printing on it, and it was a little wild, but I like it. It's really pretty. See? That one goes with here. Same fun papers on there. And I put a little bead on each, you know, where I've bound it. So I've done 10 of these. If you're ever interested in me making you one, I'm happy to do that too. You have to leave it in the comments, and you can see I've tried to pick colors that are pretty much matching. This one has flowers on the other side. I thought it was going to be too much work to put flowers on everyone, so I quit doing that because these were already a lot of work, and they're getting a really, really good deal on this. So, and the same kinds of papers inside. Designer papers, all sorts of things. So, and one more. And some of them I didn't make really symmetrical on the flap. I almost kind of like the ones that are not some kind of more free form rather than symmetrical. It's kind of fun, and you know, I can bring up this flower, I mean this big leaf up in this area, and I kind of like them just as well. And this has some jelly plate printing on it as well. And tried to choose colors that are fun and complementary. So, the same types of paper, single signature, and then all of them have this